Good afternoon, my name is Alex, and I'm going to be refuting the claim that animal cloning will fail to produce significant benefits. My opponent's secondary claims are: number one, that animal cloning is not cost effective; number two, animal cloning could negate genetic diversity; and number three, that byproducts of cloned animals might not be safe for humans. So, although we are taking risks when performing animal cloning, it is important to realize that future benefits of animal cloning are far more valuable. The purpose of animal cloning is to replicate an animal with desired traits. In cloning, a somatic cell, which could be any cell from an organism, is taken and the nucleus of this cell is manipulated. Once it's transformed, the cell is then introduced to a mature egg, and soon enough the cell will start replicating with the desired traits. This is a process known as somatic cell nuclear transfer. I will cover and respond to the claims made against animal cloning. The first claim made is that animal cloning is not cost effective. As my opponent stated, a clone could range from $15,000 to over $200,000. A BBC News article stated that a woman cloned her cat for $50,000. This price is way overblown for just a cat. But these are just the beginning stages of cloning, and we need to explore this field because the benefits can be exponential. For instance, the government website on Human Genome Project information states that scientists hope that one day therapeutic cloning can be used to generate tissues and organs for transplants. This would reduce the need for organ donation and increase the abundance of organs needed for transplants. Human Genome Project information also states that cloning is important for learning about other related technologies such as gene therapy, gene engineering of organisms, and sequencing genomes, meaning that there is a potential to treat genetic conditions and correct faulty traits. The second claim made is that animal cloning can negate genetic diversity. The evolutionary success of mammals relies on sexual reproduction, making the species more adaptable to changing environments. The Federation of Veterinarians says that this is in contrast with cloning procedures where genetic variation is reduced to multiply selected elite genotypes. This is one of the debatable issues on this topic because the Council for Agricultural Science and Technology says the opposite. They released a report that states cloning technology can assist in maintaining genetic diversity by providing a means to rescue endangered breeds, and the technology can increase genetic diversity by generating reproductively competent copies of animals that were made reproductively incompetent to succeed early in life. It is important to realize that selective breeding can generate individuals of superior genetic potential. Relying on animal cloning will produce the animals with the desirable traits. In turn, there will be a dramatic improvement in agronomic traits in all livestock. The third claim made is that byproducts of cloned animals might not be safe for humans. In 2001, when it became apparent that animal cloning may become a commercial venture to help improve the quality of herds, the FDA requested livestock producers and researchers to keep food from animal clones or their offspring out of the food supply. So the FDA conducted an intensive evaluation that included examining the safety of the food from these animals and the risk to animal health. The risk assessment also assumed that animal clones, their offspring, and all food products derived from either clones or their offspring must meet the same federal, state, and local laws and regulations as food from conventionally bred animals. Based on a final risk assessment, a report written by the FDA scientists and it issued in January 2008, the FDA concluded that meat and milk from cow, pig, and goat clones and the offspring of any animal clones are as safe as the food we eat today. So, even though the cost of animal cloning is substantially high, it is worth a large investment because of the benefits it can bring in the future. It is important to continue animal cloning to be able to attain the desired elite traits in livestock, and it gives us more reason to continue in this process because the byproducts of animal of clones are safe, but it's still important to note that animal cloning is still in its early development. Thank you.
All right, the main and secondary claims are laid out very clearly. You've got a nice counterclaim basically talking about the potential and that that's really where we are in this process. It's early and that there are desirable traits that we would want. I think spending time explaining what the cloning process is doesn't get you that much. I think you need to explain why those desirable traits are going to be important, particularly in regard to the issues that the advocate has talked about, the cost issues, diversity issues, and the products that are going to be provided. The cost issue, you have a pretty straightforward explanation. Look, we're in the early stages of this, and in the future it's going to change. But most of your evidence talking about genomes and the potential benefits there, I'm not sure that any of that specified animal cloning, and I'm a little bit leery about how generic that information is in application to the affirmative's claim on that point. The second point on diversity, I think you do have a good explanation about how the difference between, the sexual reproduction being the source of genetic diversity in animals, and how cloning might produce some issues there. But then you had a pretty good piece of information that suggested that in fact it could assist in maintaining diversity because we could selectively choose endangered animals or those with particular traits that need to be expanded and reproduce them in greater numbers. And I thought that that was a good counter argument on the advocate's point there. On the product safety, I think you've got a good rebuttal piece of information here about safety of animal products. What's missing somewhat, the same kind of thing that I mentioned in a couple of other of these situations, is much analysis of what the advocate's arguments were on these points. You've got basically good rebuttal arguments on these points without much comparison to what the advocate's claims were originally. All right. Thank you.